Hello and welcome to the third edition of Your Quality Life. I'm your host, Andreas Troschke, and today I will be talking with Chad Chiefmoon. Chad comes to us from the Blood Reserve just outside of Lethbridge and also is a director on the Lethbridge Sport Council Board of Directors. Chad comes to us with an inspiring story of how sport has influenced his life for the better. His experience in discovering the sport of lacrosse has not only given avenues to make social and physical and mental changes, but it's also provided Chad and his immediate family and community with an opportunity to do some healing and some connection with their deep ancestral roots, which are centuries old. Chad has taken the sport of lacrosse and what it's done for him personally and is now hoping to spread it throughout the Lethbridge community and the greater Southern Alberta region as a whole. I hope you enjoy listening to this interview as much as I enjoyed interviewing Chad. Thank you very much and enjoy. So how about just as a start, you give a brief introduction to yourself?
Okay, my name is Chad Chiefmoon. A lot of people know me as Chad Chiefmoon. I'm from the Blood Reserve, southwest of Lethbridge. 44 years old. I have 2 children. My daughter Sierra, she's a Mount Royal University student. And my son Zane is still in his first year of high school. Both good kids, and right now I'm just enjoying summer.
As they should be, absolutely, yeah. So today we're here to talk about lacrosse, right? And your relationship with lacrosse and a program that you have going. So how about we start off by talking a little bit about how you're introduced to lacrosse and what it means to you as a sport or an activity.
Okay, actually, I was introduced to the sport through my son, Zane. He started playing about 10 years ago. He pretty much got himself into the game. He was attending actually the school right over here. I think it's Nicholas Sharon.
Okay.
He was attending grade 1 over there. He had a couple of Calgary Roughneck players come down to his class and do a little presentation on lacrosse. And at the time, he didn't know. I think he was like 6 years old at the time. And they talked about how it was an indigenous game created by the indigenous people. And at the time, him being the only indigenous student in there, he got pointed out and he felt special. So what does he do? He goes out and he registers himself for lacrosse and with the Lethbridge Lacrosse Association. And being a father that I am, I supported him. I didn't have a clue what the game was because I hadn't been around it. Brought him to his first game and I was blown away at how action packed it was. Hard hitting, fast running. Kids are just having fun and chasing the ball, and that's how it all got started. And I've been supporting him ever since. His mom and I, and the rest of our family's been backing him up, and he's still playing to this day. And he just loves the sport. Yeah, that's how it got started.
That's a great way for it to get started, for sure. It's awesome to see kids get really passionate and into a sport, action-packed, having fun. Those are all great things to get involved with. So you talk about how it was introduced to him as an indigenous sport, and yet you were only introduced to it through him. It wasn't a part of your life growing up. You didn't get involved until he got involved first. So can you talk to me a bit about maybe a bit of disconnect that's going on there?
Well, yeah, it wasn't around when I was growing up. There was no association. I don't recall. The closest thing I got to it was probably gym class, but still we didn't know how to throw the ball around. We didn't have a clue what the sticks, how to use them. And so when my son got involved, I guess it was part of my healing journey, my recovery from, alcoholism and, let's say, the residential rippling effects. And lacrosse has been, up to this day, has been part of my healing process. And that being an Indigenous game, finding out the passion, the purpose of the game, it's the creator's game. And so when I decided to go into recovery and to healing, to see what was, to help me what was going on with my alcoholism, I turned to the creator. And loving sports and being involved with my son, there's no better fit than lacrosse. It's a sacred game, and although I never played it, I am a coach now. I had to learn it, and I had some very good mentors along the way, and they preached to me how sacred it is to us, and how I should adopt, like how we should adopt it around here, because it's part of life, I guess.
Right. So what is the reason that you think that it necessarily hasn't been adopted around here as much as in other parts of Canada or even just Alberta?
Yeah, I just asked that question a couple of weeks ago to one of my mentors, and he told me because it starts down east, and then from the Mohawks, I'm not too sure how to pronounce their name. They're real. Saying I'm not even going to try because I don't want to get it wrong, but from the Mohawk Six Nation, and it moves west to the Ojibwe, and then it skips, like let's say Manitoba, and then it comes into Saskatchewan, then it kind of skips southern Alberta, and then it goes into the west, to the west coast, where it's really big over there as well. And I asked him why, what's up with the gap, and the only thing he can really tell me was the Jesuits. Jesuits carried that stick with them across Canada and didn't come through southern Alberta because of the Catholic and Anglican ways, right? Mm-hmm. It skipped over to the natives on the west coast. That's my, and I could see that happening, right? I'm not too sure what a Jesuit is, but that's what my buddy mentioned. And I think it has a lot to do with the residential schools, right? The stick wasn't brought through southern Alberta.
That makes sense. It's unfortunate though, because it does have really meaningful cultural significance to you for sure. And I mean, you talk about how your son lit up when he found out that it was an Indigenous game primarily. Talk to me a bit about not just how it's valuable as a sport, but how it helped to connect you and your son to your culture, really.
Okay. Right now, we're still adopting it, and still learning along the way, just through coaching. But how would I say this? The mentors that I look up to a lot are not from this area, and when they're telling me to promote this, when I tell them what I'm up to and they want me to promote it, I have to talk about what this game is all about. And this game is about healing in your community, on our reserves, not just on our reserves, but in our community. The creator will bless you. You play this game, you stay involved with this game. Let's see. You're playing for the elders, and you're playing for the people that are sick in your community, and you're playing for healing. So once you play this game, win or lose, you're going to be blessed along the way. That's what my son and I agree upon. Every time you play this game, you're playing for your family, you're playing for, like I said, your community. That's the purpose of it.
That's a really profound purpose for sure. I mean, I know to a much lesser extent, when I've been involved with sports, it helps as an outlet to deal with frustration and stress. And I mean, that's nothing compared to some of the healing that I'm sure you feel needs to go on. I mean, you've touched on the residential schools and their lasting impact a couple times now. Maybe you can talk a bit about how sport or dig more in depth with how sport can really help with with the healing and undoing some of the harm that's been done there.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned the residential school. Although I never went, I grew up playing sports a lot. Like I played hockey, baseball. I even rodeoed there for a little bit. If lacrosse was around, I probably would have played it. But growing up, that was my scapegoat, from reality. And growing up, I would talk to my dad about lacrosse, about residential school. And he said he didn't really get into depth about it. And I don't think he really, and I don't blame him. But he said it was okay. But I asked myself, if it was okay, why am I feeling the effects of it? Like the bullying, the alcoholism, the poverty, the shame. Why am I feeling that when I never stepped one foot into residential school? So growing up with that, it was like I realized now that we grew up with grief, right? Stemming from residential school and knowing like what's going on right now with all the unmarked graves, and I knew there was more to it. And I'm feeling it right now myself, because the rest of my family feels it, and my community, and my reserve, and I think the whole nation feels it. What's going on? So growing up, I was a little ashamed of myself. Actually, I was a lot ashamed of myself. I was shy. I was, I don't know. I lived in fear. I was bullied. I was a bully myself. I wasn't perfect. I was doing all that stuff too because that's all I knew. So alcohol was a way to make myself feel good about myself. And I started at a young age. And although I loved sports and I had a good upbringing, it wasn't all tough. It wasn't hard, but my dad did support us well, and he kept me in sports, which he supported me good. But I was living with that shame and guilt. I don't know why. I don't know why. I was young. And the only way I dealt with it was through alcohol. So it turned out, and I turned into an alcoholic after a while. My life had to revolve around alcohol. It destroyed everything in my path. It took my family away from me. And so I had to go find out why I drank, why I was the way I was. So I went to go get help, and then one day, one of the counselors asked me to write a family tree. So I wrote a family tree of both sides of my family, my mom and my dad's, and they asked me, all my aunties and uncles, put their names down, and they told me, which ones have you seen intoxicated? So it was pretty much all of them, except for one auntie on each side. But all of these aunties and uncles, they all raised me at one time in my life, and they spoiled me with love. So I couldn't figure out why they drank, why they were like that. And we sat there for a couple of days and we figured it out, me and the counselor, and it turned out to be was the residential effect. So it trickled down the line, and it was my turn, and that's where I had to break the cycle because I did not want my kids going through what I was going through, neither my younger relatives and my nieces and nephews. So I had to break the cycle, and it wasn't easy. And that's where when I came home the first weekend, the first thing I ran into was a lacrosse tournament. And I sat there and I just enjoyed the game and enjoyed watching my son and his team in the event. They won the tournament that weekend. So I was like 3 days. I left for 6 weeks, come straight to a hockey rink, into a lacrosse game, and I just fell in love with it. And I've been there ever since. I just told myself I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this atmosphere, this environment, right?
Right.
So here I am every weekend now, supporting my son, and I eventually got into coaching. And like I said, that's part of the healing. Knowing that I found out the purpose of the game. It's just all about healing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the idea of breaking that trickle down effect, breaking the cycle, is definitely something I'd like to dig in on, because I'm sure that you've seen how your son and daughter have grown up so far, and some of the big impacts on their lives and on who they've grown to become. And I'm wondering if there's things you can point out where you can say, that's lacrosse, that's the experience that they've had, the cultural connection they've had, the opportunity they've had to heal. That's something that I didn't have growing up, and I can see how their life is going to be different because of it, because of that exposure.
Yeah, well, my daughter's really matured for her age. She's been on her own for quite some time right now. Ever since high school, she left home and went to school, and she's like an inspiration to myself. She turned to our native ways, and she's still heavily involved with the powwows and the sun dances, and she's getting educated, right? So I kind of followed her footsteps, looking up to her, even though she was my daughter, like what she's so involved with our Blackfoot ways, and proud of it. And like I said, at one time I was just ashamed of myself, because I had to live with all this whole residential rippling effect, and I guess I was lost. But my daughter has a good head on her shoulders, and going back to our Blackfoot ways, But myself, being involved with sports ever since I was a kid, and like I mentioned before, that was my escape from reality, along with alcohol. I love hockey. Hockey is everything, I guess, to the majority of us. But now I picked up a new love, and it's lacrosse. And although I don't really know how to play that well, I'm still learning myself. But just realizing that it's all about the creator and healing us, right? My mentors have explained to me what the stick symbolizes and how sacred the stick is too. I look at it now as a staff, something very, once again, sacred. You got to treat that stick well, and it'll treat you good, treat the game good too. Yeah, I guess that's what. And I get to watch my son do it every weekend, and that's almost like, I don't want to say church or anything, but it's kind of like it's like a ceremony watching the game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, and I mean, I wouldn't say that it's far away from church at all. You can definitely have a pseudo-religious experience with the emotions and the feelings that sport gives you, and one of those feelings is pride. And I mean, you talk about being ashamed of yourself, and I imagine that lacrosse has started to replace some of that shame with pride, with giving you something to be prideful about. And
Yes.
I love that the language isn't just I and me; it's always communal. And from what I understand, you aren't just letting it stop with you and your son and your family, but you're looking to spread the sport throughout the local area. And if you could talk a bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, well, the families I grew up on both sides, my parents, my mom and dad, especially my grandmothers on both sides, that's all they ever did was help people. So I saw both of them, what they've done growing up, how they help communities. My grandma Annie moved up to Calgary before her passing, and she's won, I don't know, even after her passing, she's still winning awards, how much she helped that community out. And my grandma Mona, has a big heart for everybody downtown Lethbridge here. So wherever I go, I hear their names. So I got to do now. It's like my job to help other people. After I decided to get help and heal myself, I found my passion and my purpose. And my passion is sports, right? And my purpose right now is to help others, to, I guess, be better people. And that's my way of giving back, is through sports and helping the kids, especially the little guys. Um, I guess I want to be that person I needed when I was a kid. Right? And yeah, it's just all about helping people. I realized that money ain't everything, and it's just giving back, helping that next person. That's what it's all about right now. Yeah, I look up to my grandmothers a lot and what they did for the people in their community. And I can just go anywhere. I can go to Calgary and I bring up my grandma's name and they know her. Right? I go downtown Lethbridge and I bring up my other grandma's name and they know her. And I get a handshake out of it. And that makes me proud. So yeah,
That's very cool.
Giving back to the community.
For sure. So you obviously there's a lot of talk about healing and helping here, and you mentioned both of your grandmothers earlier, and so I was just wondering if you could talk a bit about what they were known for, what it was that they did in their communities to help out so much.
Let's see. It was just an everyday thing for them, whether it was food or whether it was just a talk. I remember people coming into my grandma Annie's house just to come visit her, and they would leave. How would I say it? They would leave happy, right? She, in our black language, you're not worried. Don't worry about it. Like somehow they were always leaving happy, right? And like she grew up in the residential school, and she was part of the Catholic. She was part of the Catholic Church, and she was part of the Sundance. And those were two biggest things on the reserve. And she was highly respected everywhere. Like I said, she moved to Calgary and she won a big award there. Even after she passed away, she was still winning an award. She had a big heart for everybody, especially the kids. What I saw, and as for my grandma Mona, it was no different. She was always not just helping her family, but helping people on the streets. People who needed it the most. She was a mother to a lot of these people that didn't have that. She took everybody in, and I seen that at a young age. And she was well liked, and she was loved by everybody. Whether it was money or clothing or food, she always gave that away. And that's what I saw at a young age. That's what I kind of thought life was supposed to be: help others out, right?
Mm. Yeah, that's a incredible, honestly, inspiration or a role model to have, really. And I think like the idea that people always would leave happy or happier is something that you can definitely achieve with the game of lacrosse as well. Just seeing how much fun people can have. It's
that's so.
Yeah, that's huge. And one of the ways that you're giving back, you're setting up. Is it a camp or is it a team to play lacrosse in your communities?
Yeah, I did my best to start an association with some big help from the Southern Alberta Lacrosse Association and the local community, like local associations, Lethbridge and Crow's Nest Pass. I wanted to start something up on the Blood Reserve here and get our own association going where we can all learn this game at the same time. Nobody, we can have the experienced guys come and help us, like the older kids, and pass it on and get the kids that don't play sports to come and join. But right now with the whole COVID thing, we still have a little ways to go, so we have to be patient with them. And that's my goal. But I'm coaching out in Pincher Creek now. They gave me an opportunity, and I really thank them for that. And I brought some kids over from the reserve, and we're gonna help each other. That was one of our goals, was to help each other. I bring them players, and they bring us an association. And yeah, that's our main goal right now. One of our main goals too is, to battle racism. Um, the teams there are made up of half Native and half non-Native. But right now it's probably the best thing I've ever been a part of. Nobody, the skin colors, everyone, there is no difference. Everyone's the same, right? At the end of the game, and as long as the kids are walking away happy, I felt like I did my job, right? I did my coaching job, and that's the creator's blessing. And I know he's got my back in this, along with the president of the association. So we're doing our best to promote this game, grow this game, and I guess, end racism, battle racism too,
Mm-hmm.
So everything's going smooth, it's having fun with it. That's the main thing. If we're not having fun, why do it? Right?
Absolutely, yeah. For sure. I mean, yeah, obviously it can help a lot with the healing process within the community, but in between communities, as you mentioned, the idea of breaking down barriers and combating racism just by having one game that everyone gets to play together is definitely a very powerful tool for sure to use. So with this team, the focus is grassroots, right? Is building up the young ones, right?
Okay.
And hoping to establish I guess a tradition or something that sustains itself.
Yeah. So we're talking about the camp that's coming up. Right?
Yeah, that
was 4th and 5th. Yeah, Jeff Shatler. This will be his second time coming to Southern Alberta. Jeff is an awesome guy. He's a 2-time MVP with the Saskatchewan Rush and one of their star players. And to have somebody like that come to our community and help us out, that's awesome. I'll just tell a little story how I met Jeff. There was a big lacrosse tournament in Calgary one summer, and my son and I went to go in between the game. We went to go grab a bite at the little restaurant in the soccer center there. So we grabbed a seat, and I go up to the bar to place my order, and there was a couple of natives sitting at the bar already. Well, the bar was open for food. Anyways, I got to introducing ourselves and just talked a little lacrosse. They told me where they were from, and I went back to go sit down, and then my son told me, do you know the guy that you're talking to? I'm like, no. Yeah, they're from the Saskatchewan team. And he said, no, like, do you know who he is? I'm like, no, I just met him. And so he said, well, that's Jeff Shatler. So I Googled him, and he turned out to be one of the best players, I guess, in the NLL. So moments later, we end up sitting together watching a game, and at the same time, I promised before I went to go get help with my alcoholism, I promised a buddy up in Edmonton that I'd bring 2 lacrosse teams to a tournament up that way. But when I got back, I totally forgot about it, and I didn't really forget about it, but I don't know. I guess I did forget about it. But anyways, he called me and he said, you're still bringing those teams up? And I'm like, whoa. Said, yeah, I promised you, so I'm going to bring you 2 teams. But not having ever practicing lacrosse or doing it, just being a father and watching, I had to throw something together. So I had Jeff sitting right beside me, and I asked him, can you come down and help us? And boom, he said, no problem. So he came down and had a big camp with him in Standoff, and then had some kids get involved, and I brought 2 teams up. Well, we brought 2 teams up, and it was a success. And so he said to keep in touch with him whenever I needed him, and now COVID restrictions, everything's opening up. Now we can invite him back, and so we're looking forward to a big camp in August. And it's not just involving the kids on the reserve; it's the whole community, the city, the whole Southern Alberta. Whoever can make it out is invited. So I called back Jeff to confirm, and I told him what's the limit on the players. And he said there is no limit. Bring all the players as much as you can. We got to grow this game and promote it as much as we can. So that's the plan. If anyone wants to learn for free from one of the best players, bring your kid down, even bring yourself down just to watch somebody at that caliber. Right? So yeah,
really incredible, and what a great ambassador for the sport he is. Just the willingness to jump in there and help out. So I guess I don't know about a quote, but like maybe if you could give like a line or a brief explanation of how you see sport, obviously specifically lacrosse in this case, helping the youth deal with grief and experience truth and reconciliation. I imagine this Canada Day was a difficult time for a lot of people, for sure.
It was. Canada Day was a little different, you know. It opened up a lot of wounds, I guess, and from a lot of people's standpoint, they said it woke a sleeping giant, right? And it was kind of wasn't the most exciting thing, you know, for a lot of people, but it's got to start somewhere. And I think we all got to start healing, not just the natives, but the non-natives, right? And other ethnic groups. Everybody felt it, and it's got to start from, I'd say, the younger people. I explained to my son about it. He asked questions, and I didn't have all the answers because, once again, I never went to residential school, but I did feel the effects. So I feel like lacrosse, once again, being the creator's game, and me experiencing the blessings that he's given me, you know, just going to watch, and I just say a little prayer before a game, even though I'm not playing, and 2 days later, you get a blessing. You find peace. You find, you know, life is always challenging, but there's something there that happens good, and those are called blessings. And that's why I really believe in lacrosse. And I do believe that we are playing the game to entertain the creator. The creator is going to bless you and your community and your people. Like this whole residential thing, it is a sickening thing, right? It is an illness that went through everyone, including myself. Now I get to heal, and I don't go to church. I haven't been to church in a while. That's probably the reason why, because of the whole Canada Day thing. But I guess, like I mentioned before, it's just lacrosse is like a ceremony to me. And, I can, you know, it helps us in lots of ways. Adopting the game and bringing it here is one of my. I'd love to see it, every community and every kid playing it, just like they play hockey as well.
Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of people don't know that Canada actually has two national sports, and lacrosse is right up there with hockey, and it would be great to see more people connect to that.
Yeah. About a week ago, I was kind of in a little. I was busy, and I was driving to a game by myself, and I was asking myself, why am I doing this? Why, why I could be doing something else, but why am I going to this game? I don't even have a kid playing on there. I was getting sometimes you doubt yourself, right? So I was kind of doubting myself. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, I'm broke, and I'm going to this game, and when I can be probably putting in some overtime or doing something, making some money. But I get to the game and we play it. The kids go all out, heart and hustle, lots of try. They end up losing, but that wasn't. You think they won, right?
Yeah.
The way their attitude was after the game, they're just happy to play this game and just looking forward to the next one. We played 2 games that day, and to see them smile and just laugh and just enjoy life. Then I realized this is why I'm here. Right? I gotta coach these kids. I gotta help out. I gotta do my part, right? So, you know, everything, the whole day turned out good. And that's why I love it so much, you know, and that's pretty much the same thing as when those people left my grandmother's, hey, when they walked away happy, everything was okay, you know, and I look at these kids and smiles on their faces, it's priceless, I guess, you know. you can't replace that. Money ain't gonna buy that, you know. And the thing is that they're learning, and it's all about the attitude, and their attitude's gonna take them a long ways. You know? So if I can pass that on, well, I'm not really paying anybody back. I'm just paying it forward. If they can do that in the future, then I guess I did my job. That's what my grandmothers did. I'll do that too.
For sure. I mean, just as there's some very long-lasting negative trickle-down effects from things that have happened far in the past, so too can there be very positive ones with people carrying on tradition, and the idea of paying it forward for sure is a big thing, and it has to start somewhere. I think you've already said that, but it's such an important thing for someone to take the initiative and start being a force for change for the good, for sure. This is maybe it's not going to go anywhere, but I wonder, have you ever seen the movie The Grizzlies?
Yeah, you know what? When I came back, I guess from treatment, I guess the movie was out while I was out getting help. I didn't have a clue. I heard about it, but I didn't think much of it, and it was like a coincidence. I come out and it was already showing, so I got, it's one of the last few weeks I got to watch it, and that movie just kind of blew me away because of the reality of it, and now I don't know if I can't say, I don't know if I'm going in that same direction, but I looked at what lacrosse has done for them, and I can see that doing that for us as well, you know. I wouldn't have done all of this, what I'm doing right now, if I was not sober. So I had to get sober. I had to get 100%, and I had to keep, get myself physically and mentally 100% balanced out, right, to make all of this a success. So right now it's happening, and when I look at the Grizzlies, it's kind of like all I can say, what a coincidence, eh? And my dad kept telling me, go watch the Grizzlies, go watch it. I didn't know what he was talking about until I went to go watch it. And I was blown away. I'm like, hey, that's kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they, that's the stuff I'm aiming for. And that's, just produce players and produce good people and a better community, whether it's the city or the reserve or one of the small towns, wherever we can promote this game. And through this game, we're going to show it that it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely seems, what a coincidence, eh? Yeah. For that movie. Yeah. It's incredible. Well, I think it just goes to show how far-reaching and important it is to have that cultural connection, to have that outlet, that form of healing.
Yes.
It can work in a lot of circumstances, for sure. So I guess we'll get some details about the camp from you. If you could give us dates and where people should go if they want to get involved.
All right. We're scheduled to go August 4th and 5th, which is Wednesday, Thursday. Jeff will be down, and at the same time, we're going to be having the Aboriginal coaches module. So coaches are welcome to come out. I'm not even sure. I haven't even taken that yet, so I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also looking forward to the camp the most. Just Jeff is going to explain the history of the sport, and he's a member of Team Iroquois, the team that broke barriers for lacrosse in the I think it was the World Games or the World Lacrosse. You have Team Canada and you have Team Iroquois, which is their own nation, and he's going to explain all of that, and he's going to show you like skills and drills, and a motivational speech, and that's, I guess, one of the main things I'm looking forward to. What else is there? 4th and 5th. So we'll have I think it's 4 hours or 5 hours a day. 4, I think, at the most. And I would like to we would like to fit in a showcase game with the experienced players, if possible, to show the crowd and to show, our invited guests what it's all about. There's a ton of talent here in Lethbridge, in the south here, with the Lethbridge Junior B Cudas. You're almost like watching pros now. They started playing a couple of weeks ago, and my son plays on that team, and I'm just blown away at the talent that's on that team, and how fast the game is, and how rough it is, and all the passion they have to try to win, and they just play the game. So I'd like to show a game like that to the public, people that don't know what lacrosse is about, especially on my reserve and Big Gunny Reserve, to grow the game. And so if everybody can make it out, bring your kid out and let him or her experience the game for itself. And yeah, so that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a big deal.
It sounds
that's all of what the service center, is that what it's called?
I think so. Yeah.
The soccer center on the south side of Lethbridge.
Yeah, I think so. Awesome.
We're just waiting on Jeb's the times and for him to get his poster out so we can get it out right away.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much for coming in and taking the time to talk to us today, Chad.
Yeah, no problem. It's an honor.
It's an honor to have you.
And that is where the interview with Chad Chiefmoon ends. Depending on the time that you were listening to this, the event may have passed, but we did record this interview in the run-up to the Creators Game event taking place on August 4th and 5th of 2021. If you have an interest in lacrosse, or because of this interview are interested to see Chad at work or to get involved in lacrosse, please check out the camp. And otherwise, thank you very much for stopping by to listen to this interview, and I hope we will see you at the next edition of Your Quality Life.